Testing, testing. it's working. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Marian Gidia. I'm Associate Dean of STEM Research and Education at Yeshiva University and Director of the Graduate Program in Mathematical Sciences. And it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the second day of the IEEE 4th International Conference on Digital Data Processing. This is an event co-sponsored by IEEE and Yeshiva University Katz School of Science and Health. It's very thrilling to have as guests scientists, practitioners, and students from the United States and other places around the world, and to have the privilege to hear all of you sharing your work, your research, and your ideas. And this morning, we are very happy to have as keynote speaker Professor Nirwan Ansari. So he's a distinguished professor of electrical and computer engineering at New Jersey Institute of Technology, with a PhD from Purdue University, a master's from University of Michigan, and a bachelor from New Jersey Institute of Technology. And he's a life fellow of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, IEEE, and a fellow of the National Academy of Inventors. He recently co-authored a book on green mobile networks. He co-authored other 2 books and over 700 of research articles. He's been serving in, as editor-in-chief to a prestigious IEEE journal, but also serves in the editorial board of several other journals. He's been the recipient of prestigious awards as a researcher, as a teacher, as an inventor, and it's just exciting to have him speak about metaverse, whether metaverse is taking off. You have the floor.
Well, thank you very much for the kind introduction, Professor Gidia. Well, that's the title of the talk, right? Metaverse is taking off with a question mark, you know. And it's I call it part 2, right? Why there's exclamation? Why do you have a question mark there? By the way, you got to give me a time limit. Otherwise, it can be going on and on. Huh? It could be too late. Okay, all right. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here to share with you on my thoughts about the metaverse. It's called part 2 because last year, exactly at this time, well, not exactly this time, a little more than a year already, I gave the same, well, not exactly the same talk, okay? The title is called Metaverse. Metaverse is taking off with a question mark, right? So 1 year has passed, right? It's probably a good time to reflect what has happened on this very rapidly evolving field, right, over the past year and so, and try to explore its prospect for the coming year. Let me see. Okay. So that's why I call this part 2, all right? So since I'm giving a talk in an academic setting here, so please allow me to advertise or to talk about my boss. You know, who's my boss? NJIT is my boss, by employer, right? So NJIT claims to make innovations, opportunities, and leaders, right? Actually, the U.S. News Best College just came up, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, and it was ranked number 84. I think the same rank, there are a couple of them tied with the UC's Santa Cruz, and then number 86 is University of Delaware. So we come a long way. When I first joined NJIT, way back when NJIT is trying to become a research institution, right? So according to New York Times, it's supposed to be ranked number 1 public university nationally for alumni earnings, for economic mobility, and academic profile. So essentially, our alumni are making good money, right? So after all, why do you come to school? For the lofty idea of learning, right? But ultimately, what do you want to do? You want to have a decent career? Be able to make money? It's good living, right? And according to Forbes, it's number 1 public university, and according to Wall Street, it's number 2 public university, and number 19, including private university. So we claim that we try to transform education, right? It was founded in 1881. Currently, when I joined NJIT many years ago, it was about 5,000 students. So now we have over 13,000 students, over 500 faculty members, including part-time, I believe, over 120 degree programs that we offered, and with the annual research fund expenditure of over 175 million. And according to statistics, this is not coming from me, that is, we claim that 1/3 of the engineers and scientists who work in New Jersey are graduates from NJIT. So actually, NJIT, the name NJIT was established back in 1975. Before that, it was called Newark College of Engineering. So the old generation folks like, yeah, less older than me, they know NCE very well, Newark College of Engineering. It was gone by that name. When I joined NJIT, it's already NJIT, right? So still now, the Newark College of Engineering is the largest college. Since then, we have a College of Science and Liberal Arts, architecture and College of Architecture and Design. The youngest one is the College of Computing. It's called Yingwu College of Computing because Yingwu is one of our, actually when I joined NJIT, he just graduated from our department, Yingwu. All right, he's make a big donation. That's why they named the college after him. Just like here, Katz, someone must make big donation to this program, right? And then you have the School of Management, and then we have a honor college. The idea of honor college is what? To buy students. What do you mean buy students? To buy good students. Give those who, reside in this college, they are receiving one way or the other some kind of scholarship. So that will help us to push the profile of students. But NJIT has transformed quite a bit since I joined. I joined NJIT back in 1988. I just checked with some of you folks, and a lot of people, wow, stay such a long time. Along the way, yes, I have got opportunity, being attracted to, some other more prestigious position somewhere else in Texas or in Canada and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, it's not my own decisions, it's a family decision and so on. So I still stay put. Besides, close to the Big Apple, right? It's very convenient. And we'll go to conference, usually it's 1 hop away, as opposed to some of the folks that I know you have to multi-hop in order to go to a conference. Okay. So in my last year's keynote, right, there are a lot of headlines about metaverse, right? And these are some of these headlines here. For example, metaverse dream dead in the water as Facebook fires 11,000 people. Meta reportedly canceled all its metaverse plans. And Meta has reportedly stopped pitching advertisers on Metaverse. And Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse ambitions are shrinking. And if there is one thing AI has done for us, it has killed Zuck's Metaverse, and so on and so forth, okay? And the worst news of it, this one appeared in May last year, 2023. RIP, rest in peace, Metaverse, all right? So this appeared in the Business Insider. It said, Metaverse, the once buzzy technology that promised to allow users to hang out awkwardly in a disorienting video-like world, has died after being abandoned by the business world. It was 3 years old. Okay, that was last year. Well, is Metaverse dead? What do you think? Not yet. Otherwise, I won't be giving this talk, right? Okay, let's examine the technological landscape that is shaping Metaverse. In order to get Metaverse working, there are a lot of enabling technologies that we need, right? And 5G, today's 5G, well, I was able to grab a map like this from the internet. I wasn't able to grab a map about US coverage. It's very difficult for me to show it here. But here in Europe, right, the 5G coverage in Europe at this stage, probably this is only a month or two charge that I got. It's about only 72% of the population has achieved the coverage of 5G in the EU 27, right? Of course, the black one, some of them are not the European, right? For example, England and so on. And in US, I don't have a similar map, but roughly about 62% of Americans can enjoy the high-speed 5G coverage at home at this stage, okay? So we can imagine that 6G is coming. I'm not sure you guys are working in 6G, right? A lot of folks are working on 6G right now. And 6G is definitely, according to, so far, they are thinking to be deployed in 2030. It's not too far from here, all right? So definitely we'll have a better picture by then on what that will entail. So we know that 5G essentially increases the usage of AR, augmented reality, enhanced video. According to Ericsson, right, 5G users will have significantly increased engagement with digital service, and they will spend 2 hours, 5G as compared to 4G users will spend about 2 more hours on application using AR, okay, than the 4G users. And then building on this, digital services and 5G plans has created behavioral changes among 5G users. So as stated here, according to Ericsson, only 1/3 of the users have 5G rich content, okay? And this 5G is enabler for Metaverse, for sure, right? As compared to 4G, right? 5G will use 1 more hours than 4G users in terms of the Metaverse, 1.5 hours expected video usage on, XR glasses. XR stands for extended reality. And most folks, 6 out of 10, stated 5G is very important in terms of moving Metaverse. So the demand is only expected to increase even more, spectacularly when you're moving from 5G to 6G, right? So going from 5G to 6G, by the way, in this talk, I will not give you a single equation. It's highly high level, right? It's not like a technical presentation. So I'm sure everybody will be able to understand what I'm talking about. You don't have to understand a single equation here. So we know that in 5G, you have eMBB, you have URLLC, MMTC, all of this. all of these services will be supercharged by AI, ML, by sensing, by AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, and so on and so forth. They are so-called, well, depending on the literature, I'll call them EMBB plus, URL plus, MMTC plus, whatever. You know what? Whatever is existing, you call it ultra. You will call it further enhanced or whatsoever, okay? So there are many buzzwords that associate with metaverse. So we have so-called virtual reality, so-called mixed reality, right? And all kind of software. So what are the difference, right? By now, I think in the early days, probably you ask people on the street, probably most of them don't know what they are, right? But now I think there are a lot of news. People might have some good sense about, reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, augmented reality. Essentially, virtual reality, essentially the world is hidden and the user is completely immersed in a digital experience, all right? So you're creating a digital simulation of a real environment. And augmented reality, essentially, you have interactive objects layered on top of the physical environment. You are the young kids here. I'm probably the oldest around here. You probably play Pokemon Go? Anyone play that? That's augmented reality, right? I didn't play, I'm too old for that, right? So that is augmented reality, essentially. Augmented reality overlay the digital information into the real world, okay? And what is mixed reality? Mixed reality essentially is the capability of AR and VR. They are blend together, bring together the physical world and the digital world to produce an environment where the physical and the digital objects coexist and you can interact in real time. So that's the mixed reality. And this one gives you a much better sense of understanding what is all this so-called extended reality. Extended reality is essentially an umbrella that covers all the AR and VR. So we can see virtual reality is you have very high immersion. You're totally immersed in the virtual environment. And then your augmented reality is the not so highly immersive, right? So it's a low immersion in which you have the real world and the physical world environment exists there. Mixed reality is essentially a blend of the physical and the real world with the digital and the virtual elements. So you have this physical and digital elements that can interact with each other, okay? Feel free to ask me questions, all right, when along the way. So what is metaverse then? So we have discussed AR, VR, MR, XR. So now we are talking about metaverse. What is metaverse? It's essentially a virtual world where people can work, live, travel, and play, right? So it's a parallel world that exists alongside the physical world, okay? And probably right now it's like science fiction or in the games, all right? And it's definitely explore AR, VR, and mixed MR. And this is considered to be the next step of the internet. However, there's one critical element that metaverse need in order to make it more acceptable, right? So it needs to replicate so-called the 6 degrees of freedom from real life. And all the gaming right now, all the digital world usually have only 3 degrees of freedom, back and forth, up and down, left and right, right? They don't have so-called the roll, the yell, the pitch that will give you the 6 degrees of freedom. This is so important. Why? Because for human beings, God created us perfect. No machine can replicate human beings, right? This is a perfect creation. So in order to make your so-called the experience indistinguishable from the reality, the metaverse needs to enable 6 degrees of freedoms, and it has to be in real time, and has to be very accurate. Okay. Otherwise, it will lead to some kind of motion sickness and some of the problem because of the lack of synchronization between what your brain is perceiving and what the real world is doing, right? It's because you're talking about all this immersive world here. So the metaverse coexists with the physical world and essentially has a digital counterpart for almost every object in the physical world, okay? So the network essentially provides the intelligence and then provide all this unprecedented connectivity and the full synchronization between the physical world and the digital world so that you become so natural. You go out to the street, wear whatever your gadgets, just business as usual, right? That's what you want to reach eventually. And there's tons of sensors, masses of sensors are embedded throughout the physical world, all right? And all the sensors send data to the digital world, and then will affect the changes in the digital representation of the world. And there are actuators in the tangible realm that can execute the actions from the digital world. So you become very natural, hopefully, all right? And metaverse definitely can leverage artificial intelligence, right? So they can access the past recorded memories, and then you can predict and execute the future actions, right? So that's what metaverse is all about. And metaverse represent what? Big money here, right? So metaverse, since the metaverse R&D has guzzled tons of money, all right, a lot of cash. In 2021, Google searches related to metaverse jumped 72 times. In 2022, more than $120 billion have been invested, into metaverse R&D and all these startups, and of course, Meta companies, the big one. And some people estimated by 2030, the metaverse can generate up to $5 trillion in revenue, okay? And especially during the pandemics, everybody cannot go out. What are you going to enjoy? You're going to enjoy a lot of virtual world and the virtual interaction. So that's the pandemic essentially us in a wide acceptance of virtual interactions. And I think some of you, many of us probably experienced it already somehow, especially in the entertainment industry, right? AR, VR, and metaverse story has already been become quite prevalent in the entertainment industry. And there are many shows essentially hosted by Netflix, Amazon Prime, and so on and so forth on this kind of shows. One of them, I'm not sure you watched this one, Upload? You watch Upload, okay, all right. So it's essentially, the Upload was what? You have to be a Prime member to do that, right? They assume that the humans can be uploaded into a virtual world, afterlife of your choice, and so on and so forth, right? Well, okay, these are all the, the potential in the growth of this metaverse. But let's track back the history a little bit, okay? And we can trace back all the way to the internet. I don't want to trace back to the time that I did my studies. It's way too long, And I taught a course in, advanced topics in networking. Usually I give them a good historical development of internet, right? And from here we can see we started in what? www, 1989, okay? 1989. Wow, some of you born yet? Well, even when you born, were you able to access the internet we had? Only if you're in the academic or research institution, then you can access so-called the internet, those are academic novelty, right? So as a graduate student, I have access to ARPANET, all this email application, but not mom and pop cannot access to the internet. But 1989, even it was started, not until 1995, when it's actually become privatized and commercialized, that mom and pops can, sign up to AOL and get into internet, right? And actually, in 1992, the science fiction writer Neil Stephenson essentially used the term metaverse to describe a 3D virtual space. In 2003, the Linden Lab unveiled the Second Life. It's an online virtual world. 2006, Roblox is a key enabler, right? Roblox, do you buy a stock of Roblox? Well, you bought a stock a few years ago, you must have lost a lot of money right now. Okay, Roblox went down. But Roblox essentially is an online platform that allows users to create and share games with others. And 2009, we have Bitcoin, right? What does Bitcoin have to do with metaverse? Virtual, right? In the virtual world, right? You can buy all this stuff. You can buy transaction there. And then you have 2011, you have a science fiction writer, Ernest Cline, a Ready Player One, introduced the people to virtual reality. 2014, Facebook bought what? Oculus. Did you watch what happened last week? Were you here last week? Of course, right? What happened last week? The what? All right, they have so-called Meta Connect 2024. They introduced the new glasses, Oculus 3S or something, right? And in 2015, you have the Decentraland's first iteration of an online virtual world, okay? 2016, well, you play Pokemon, right? My kids play, but I didn't play, right? And then 2017, the multiplayer game and social hub called Fortnite. Probably a lot of you still using Fortnite, right? And it's what that was released. 2018, you have this popular mythical virtual reality game, called Exit Infinity. It runs on Ethereum. In 2021, Microsoft unveils the Mesh, a platform designed for virtual collaborations across multiple devices. And 2021 also, Mark Zuckerberg changed Facebook's name to what? Meta, right? And then 2022, and then what is 2022? 2022, I think Meta, collaborate with Siemens, right? To create so-called digital twin, right? Today, there are a lot of research paper appear, they call it so-called digital twin, right? A lot of those. Along those history, there are definitely a lot of technological enablers in order to make this prevalent and a reality, not just in the lab. So all these so-called technological enablers, including 5G networks. You have edge cloud and fog and personal computing, right? I think many of you in our field are working on this, right? And the cloud and network storage, and the next-gen back-end engines, hardware advances. NVIDIA came up with what? What is the most super-duper chip nowadays that the NVIDIA came up? Blackwell, right? Even though it still has a problem of shipping it out yet, right? But it came up already, right? And you have, when I gave another talk, I compared the computing system I used when I did my PhD. The title of my PhD dissertation is called Landmark-Based Shape Recognition. At that time, when you did PhD, I didn't have the luxury of just click, 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 I get all the papers that I want. Right? At that time, I was actually working on computer vision area, image processing. I know which are the important journals, which are the important conferences. In order to get hold of it, usually you can't. Well, when it come up, you always go to the library and check out immediately, and then scan it quickly, and then make copy. That's the way that our old PhD student did when we do our PhD, right? When we submit a paper, we don't have to click, 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 I just submit online. You have to what? Make 6 copies of your manuscript. If your advisor is rich, you can write a letter, make 6 copies, and then you use American well, not American Express, Federal Express, okay? Express mail, send it to the EIC. EIC has to do what? Keep one copy, identify an associate editor, a technical editor, and then send 5 copies to the associate editor to handle the reviews. The editor has to be very careful to find out the reviewers because he has to send by snail mail again to the reviewers. And the reviewers make sure they will really handle it. Today, you ask a lot of reviewers, oh, I cannot make it. You know, you don't have that luxury. It's costly, right? You're talking about express mail. And then by the time you get the first feedback of your review, you will be very delighted to see the review within a year. That was really super speed already. These days, as an EIC, a lot of kids, well, not kids, to me it's kids, right? 3 months, they don't have a decision, they already complain. What a world we are living in, right? So that's why when I published my first paper was in PAMI, that was after my PhD, after I've defended. There's no way that you can get this journal published so early. So the only way that you want to get your, hopefully you can graduate in time, is to submit it to conferences, right? Conferences set time. So at least by the time you want to defend, I have a bunch of conference papers to establish the viability of your feasibility of your dissertation. Okay, and then you have hardware, you have AI/ML definitely, right? And about AI/ML, again, I just talked to one of you. This research on AI/ML. You know, AI has been around for a while. In the early 90s, I did quite a lot of work on AI, neural networks, and so on. All right. So I actually edited a book called Neural Networks and Telecommunications in 1994. In 1997, I wrote a book called Computational Intelligence for Optimization. That's 1997, essentially. I kind of wrap up the work I did in the late 80s and early 90s. And I didn't do much of AI/ML afterwards. Why? There's no money, right? Nobody going to fund you, right? So in US, academic is very capitalistic, right? No money, you demise, right? So I start changing my field, and I start looking into physical layer of the communication. At that time, it was 3G. 3G. What is 3G? CDMA, 2000, right? So the physical layer, right? So now I can see the whole landscape up and down and so on and so forth. Of course, digital twinning that I mentioned, that's the collaboration between Siemens and NVIDIA, all right? And of course, very relevant to this conference, big data. You got tons of data going to be generated. You know, imagine when I did my PhD, my advisor bought the state-of-the-art machine. You know what was that machine? Have you heard of Sun? You used Sun before? I had a machine that's called Sun 350, you know. It's only a fraction of the capability of your cell phone right now, okay? So I was able to do this so-called computer vision. You know, I did those partial shape recognition. Of course, the recognition idea is a lot more humongous. So if you look at the technological advances, both hardware, software, and every aspect, from the time I did my PhD to the time we have Mac, we have the Blackwell NVIDIA, how much more powerful you have. You talk about astronomical power, you know. In the old day, using the Sun 350, you got to, you know, run your program for a day or two. With the new machine we have, bingo, you can get it, right? But now we can do a lot more. But of course, now we have a lot more data, a lot more sophisticated data. The media is different, right? In the old days, we only talk about image processing, black and white. You call NTSC, NTSC, right? The resolution 512 by 512 from 8-bit and so on. Now we have what? Wow, not only HD, not only 8K, all right? Or 4K or whatever. Now we talk about virtual reality. So of course, along with this, we got to overcome, even though these are the enabling technologies, we got to improve that in order to be able to actualize metaverse. So definitely there are tons of issues. It's all related to all kinds of fields: communications, networking, hardware, signal processing, and so on and so forth. For example, resource allocation. Well, and management. Today, in the context of metaverse, in the cutting edge, right, we talk about 6G and so on and so forth. But resource allocation, way back in the ancient time, before you were born, then, okay, probably you were born, we talk about ATM, right? We already have resource allocation. But here, of course, getting more, the problem is richer, right? More sophisticated. We talk about resource allocation in communications, in computing. We talk about security and privacy, what kind of encryption scheme. Even you running machine learning, your machine learning algorithm can be attacked as well. How do you safeguard your machine learning? And also standardizations. We talk about the world, the real world and the virtual world. How do they talk to each other? You have to standardize them, what kind of interface. And of course, with tons of data we are dealing with, right? We got to be able to smart enough to not only do data compressions, right? Computer visions, okay? You do a lot of this. Some of you are doing some of this work, computer visions. Amazing, The field is changing so fast. AI, ML, and so on and so forth. How much more time do I have? 25, good. All right. I'll probably more. Oh, communication resources, how do you manage those resources? There are tons of technology available, right? Technique available, OFDMA, you know what OFDMA, right? Orthogonal frequency, orthogonal frequency division multiple access, right? And NORMA, non-orthogonal multiple access, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, direct Wi-Fi, and optical, and so on and so forth. Those are the resources we need to manage. Computing is not only communication or computer, it's all blend together, all the resources. When you deal with communication, also you have the computing resources. We talk about storage, we talk about RAM, we talk about CPU, we talk about virtual machine, we talk about GPU, right? And the server resources too have to be allocated optimally. And to run, meta space functioning, offloading computing tasks, and so on and so forth. This one gives you a glimpse when you are rendering your, let's say, your video, all right? One is running on your local device. One is rendering on the, this is rendering on the edge device, okay? So this is just hypothetically, the end device usually is less powerful. But of course, as time goes by, this thing is much, much more powerful than the CPU, than the machine I was running on my dissertation many years ago, right? One day, this has probably become a supercomputer of 10 years ago or something, right? But anyway, as time moves on, our advances could move on, and we are able to do a lot more powerful things, but at the same time, there are a lot more complicated problems for us to solve. So it's good that we're in business. As time moves on, we have jobs, right? So you can see that if we're able to rendering at the edge devices, the edge computing devices, it's more powerful, so you have better resolution. You can see clear. If you do edge at the end devices, right, you may not be able to do it, right? So you want to do edge computing, right? And this is just give me an example here. This is essentially NVIDIA GeForce Now. It's essentially a cloud-based gaming services. You guys play games? Are there gamers here? Right? Is this supposed to be very popular? Well, I don't know. I really didn't play it. I just only talk. I didn't really play, okay? So, this one is a very good platform. Essentially, it's so great. If you're a gamer, I can play on my smartphone or iPhone, and then I move to the another platform. I have a MacBook, and you can do it seamlessly, right? From one platform to another platform. So I'm not asking you to play games. You should study, right? But anyway, this is the power gadget you can have. And then talk about tons of problems we can solve, in terms of resource management. Like you may maximize the network utility of a wireless network using dual decomposition of non-convex problem, talking about problem decomposition to control the base station association with users and their power status for energy efficiency, and so on and so forth. You look at you flick the literature, the IEEE journal or ACM journal. There are tons of problems we are solving. All of this working towards, hopefully, we'll have so-called the metaverse. And then device mobility is very important. You have to overcome all these challenges. And it's even more complicated in the metaverse network. In the past, we only deal with a physical network. Now you have to deal with a virtual network, both the coexistence of both the virtual and the physical world. And we talk about now in 6G, we're going to use the terahertz based system. Okay, it's much higher speed. And then you have to do all this handover. So these are all the challenges we have to deal with. And then, of course, there are plenty of nodes in the metaverse-based networks. User end devices, switches, SDN switches, edge cloud, and so on and so forth. You need to be able to do efficient and effective authentication, encryption, and verification scheme. We can do it one way, two way, or three way. I mean, you 3-way, that means you have a third party to do the authentication. This is essentially you have to secure your wireless communications. And you don't want to have a signal leakage that can allow malicious actors to modify your model parameters. There are also so-called inference attack, which is a lot of people are studying right now because you don't even have to grab the whole data. Right? You can grab the parameter, right, of the model so that you can, from the parameter, you can regenerate the whole things. And then people are proposing using homomorphic encryption. When you use a homomorphic encryption, you don't need to share the secret key, the very complicated key sharing. So this is some idea people have been proposed. And in terms of, and IEEE has launched the project called the IEEE Project 2888, essentially for standardizing the interfaces between the physical world and the cyber world. Okay, we need that. And of course, data compressions. It's all about data. There are tons of data. My advisor, I don't know if you know him or not, he's still very active. I visited him back in almost 10 years ago because Purdue gave me a so-called outstanding ECE awards, and then he still lined up all his students and show me what his students are working. His name is Ed Delp. And he was actually the inventor of the first image compression scheme. It's called the block truncation coding. It was widely adopted in that time. Of course, it's a very simple idea, right? And it's widely used. Essentially, you compress your image block by block, right? Called block truncation coding. Ultimately, you want to do compression, right? So all these volumetric objects needs to be compressed and streamed in real time. But in the old days, I think my advisor finished his PhD in 1979, right? That was that time, right? Only, black and white, grayscale image, 512 by 512 by 8 bits. Then you go to HD, and then you have color, RGB, and then you now HD, and then you have 4K, and now you're AR, VR. You're talking amount of data is humongous, right? So you require some suitable lossy or multi-layer coding to deal with all kind of issues like texture and masses. And ultimately, the current streaming bandwidth is still enough to provide real, truly photorealistic 6 degrees of experience, okay? This is something that we still have to work on. There's some promises, right? Such as a scheme so-called the MPEG-5 low complexity enhancement video coding, try to tackle some of this problem and so on and so forth. And you may have other computer vision issues, right? How do you increase the data because of the data complexity? The metaverse environments generate massive amounts of visual data. And you need efficient processing analysis. and all of them have been done in real time. And you want to have a very robust object recognition. You've got to be accurate, recognize your objects, and you've got to be able to understand the scene, right? Spatial understanding and the scene reconstruction. You want to achieve an accurate understanding of 3D space and the virtual environment so that you can have this immersive experience. And you'll be able to interpret, the semantics, right? So computer vision needs to understand the semantics and the context of the visual scenes. And we talk about scalability also because the metaverse expect to scale up exponentially, to grow exponentially. So your existing scheme and so on, the algorithm, how could they scale? And so on and so forth, right? While researchers and developers are hard at work, try to tackle all these pressing technical, ethical challenges that will shape the metaverse, the public has been also bombarded by a lot of headlines, right? A lot of news, media coverage. And these stories, usually the headline, often highlight the hype and the speculation surrounding the digital frontier, the metaverse, right? But they can be sometimes overshadow the significant groundbreaking work being done behind the scenes, right? So, for example, this is the news this year, right? The metaverse is dead, long live the metaverse, right? It's that Disney invested $1.5 billion, and Korea takes lead to revitalize metaverse in entertainment, and Meta keeps faith with the metaverse. That was back in May, right? And this one, this is August. It said technology is muse, the metaverse is playground. So you reach 10 minutes, okay, I got to speed up. So from Financial Times, there's no wonder luxury brands embrace the metaverse. The metaverse war heat up. Roblox, it's at the long road to child safety in metaverse. Arrival of the so-called intelligent industrial metaverse in 2024. That is, the collaboration between NVIDIA and Siemens. Saudi Arabia launches the innovative metaverse platform. China brings together tech giants, universities to draft the metaverse standards. EU initiative on the so-called Web 4.0 and the virtual world. And this is a little bit negative here. Metaverse companies struggling with declining values and complexity. That was just a couple months ago, August. And this is the most positive one. Zuckerberg's metaverse gamble pays off with, this just came up last week. Well, a few days ago. No, this week, right? September 28th. Zuckerberg is $201 billion richer in 2 years, right? What is this? What is this? Stock price. Stock price of what? Meta. What is this arrow? This is the time I delivered last year's keynote, okay? At Kyoto, MetaCom 2023. If I use the stock price as thermometer of how hot metaverse is, well, seems like the state of metaverse is pretty hype right now, right? I wish I bought the metaverse stock at that time, right? That's how much? Almost double. Well, anyway, at NJIT, even though, with all this hype, all this news, right, that tons of people are still in academia, in the industry, they are all working hard, right, tirelessly on various enabled technologies that will drive the metaverse. At NJIT, for example, we have looked into beefing up the enabling technologies for metaverse, such as AI-native core network configurations, seamless integration of machine learning throughout the 6G heterogeneous network, improvement of the communication resource efficiency, and tackling challenge in the field of ER, extended realities. For example, here we propose something called music. is a 6G heterogeneous networks that apply AI techniques, right? And ultimately split the machine learning across the hierarchical entities of the network to minimize the machine learning training energies. We're also here to facilitate energy-efficient machine learning architecture from a communication perspective. So this 6G heterogeneous network will employ OFDMA, NORMA, and device-to-device communication to transmit machine learning updates to and from the devices and machine learning servers. And this one is a work done by my colleague, Dr. Tao Han, who was once my doctoral advisee. After he graduated, he went to University of North Carolina, and he came back a few years ago, right? Now he's addressing some of the most complex challenges in the field of extended realities. This is one of his groundbreaking work. They come up with so-called a Webman ML system. So this one's supposed to integrate the components such as smart camera, servers, and the mixed reality handsets so that it can capture and transmit and display the human avatars. Let me see if I can show you a video. Okay. Can I show it? Where is the video? Okay. Can I go? How could I show you the what? I cannot move it. Can I? All right, I can go here. No? Okay. How can you show this? Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
So you're going to have to control.
Okay, good. So this, you can see here, this is using my Tao Han's Webman ML system. It was able to capture my avatar, right? So it's one step towards towards the metaverse. Okay. Good. So this is, besides NJIT, okay, besides our work, there are tons of people doing all kinds of works. For example, if you look at a special issue, just came out this year, this one have about 5 articles about security and privacy. And this one in Open Journal of Communication Society, dealing with all the challenges and opportunity in metaverse-based communications and networking. And this is some of the paper, and there's a special issue that's coming up. I just approved the acceptance of a few articles for this special issue that will come up next year. And do you recognize who are there? Can you see it? Yep, essentially, these are the two remarkable tech giants, right? They are actually the two longest standing founders, still the founders, still running their company, right? Who founders still around? No more, right? So these are the two founders. They were, had a conference called SIGGRAPH 2024 in Denver. That's about a couple of months ago, right? And this industry titans essentially engaged in a very captivating 1-hour discussion that explore the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. So their conversation delved into how fundamental research is driving unprecedented AI breakthroughs and how generative AI, combined with open source software, is set to empower developers and creators to do all kind of fancy stuff. They also explore the pivotal role of generative AI in constructing the virtual world, our world, right, the metaverse, and how this virtual environment could shape the next wave of AI in robotics. And this is very captivating discussion. It's on YouTube. You can go there and I encourage you to listen to what they say. And this one is just happening last weekend. Meta Connect. They are not paying me for anything. They came up with so-called ask you to expand their world, learn firsthand from the developers and innovators who are building the AI mixed reality and wearables. This is a Quest, Oculus. Well, it's about Oculus Quest 3S, but it's Meta Quest. Pretty cheap, $300. Right? And then, you don't like that, you can buy a Ray-Ban smart glass. Right? And they have another, there's another also smart glass they were trying to sell too, I think probably later on, and try the Meta AI, okay? So Meta introduced all of this stuff, right? With all the support, okay? Backing of the hundreds of startup companies and the tech giants engaging in various aspects of enabling technologies for metaverse, and the potential market size predicted by this, what is this company? By this Statista Market Insights, a lot of potential. Well, the question that we try to answer, is metaverse dead? Okay, you decide, right? And the future of metaverse is incredibly promising, right? Thanks to the massive investment pouring into the in this field from all startups, tech giants, academic research institutions. So this collective effort is accelerating the development of the groundbreaking technologies, right? That will redefine how we interact, how we work, how we play in the digital space. So with all this advancement in AI, AR, VR, AR, XR, blockchain, and so on, the metaverse is poised to become a fully immersive and interconnected digital world. And that's it. Any questions? Yes.
Can you tell me what the current state of 6 degrees of freedom is in terms of virtual reality?
I think there are still folks are working on that. I think it's still not quite there yet, but I think there's still a lot of effort being made. The most important is the synchronization. So essentially, the enabling technology has to be able to be fast enough to synchronize. The bottom line is, are you able to provide all these bandwidth? In a local control environment, maybe you can do it, right? If I have edge devices in the experimental environment, I can make edge device using the NVIDIA chips around it. Edge, you can do it that fast. But that's probably in the lab. But eventually, you want to be able to wear all of this so that it doesn't give you that kind of cognitive sickness. That's still quite a big challenge. I think there's still a lot of work being done, especially those are all related to computer vision. It's been a long time. I published my first paper in 1990, I think, in the PAMI, right? 30-some years, time flies. Time flies, yes.
Can I ask a related question?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with, I forget her name, Feifei, I think her name is from Stanford.
Yeah.
Which is very focused on spatial intelligence.
Right.
And I'm just wondering about the connectivity between that concept and virtual reality and 6 degrees of freedom.
Well, I say they're all kind of connected. You know, this time is around. This day when we do research, the speed is much faster than the old days when we did research. The old days, I have to go to the library to retrieve information, right? These days, every corner of the world. I was serving in the IEEE of the panel of editors, and every year we have a meeting essentially discussing the state of the publication in our field. The landscape of all this publication has drastically changed as compared to the old days. You know what? In this couple of years, a majority of the publication in IEEE, they were from China, over 50%. In the old days, when I was organizing conferences, when we saw an author from China, we were scratching our heads. We were worried about, were they able to come to present their work, right? I attend all these international conferences. In the old days, we had a lot of Bell Labs folks, IBM Watson Labs. The demographic changes, and then suddenly we have a lot of Japanese, Fujitsu, you know, Hitachi, and then you have a lot of Chinese. Nowadays, if we hold a conference without Chinese attendance, we are bound to lose money, right? So things changing so drastically. I don't know how many years I'm going to spend here, but I try to enjoy while I still can talk, still, hopefully I can still project, you know, update the information before I retire. Okay.
Could I keep asking one more question?
Sure.
Regarding the bandwidth, 6G is a wireless technology, right?
Well, yeah, also called a 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G. They are predominantly wireless. But the wireless, without wired, it doesn't work too, right? Ultimately, you have to, the backbone have to connect them together, depending on where you want to talk to. If I want to talk to you wireless, yes, I can device to device, just like this. But if you are somewhere else, and all this computing, whether I use the edge server, and my edge server will be close by here, where you're located, or even you may want to use the data center, which is deep down, but you have to go through the backbone, right? So when you talk about bandwidth, it's not only, you know, from here to here, I can have a lot of bandwidth, but there are a lot of bottlenecks somewhere else. And where's the intelligence, right? You have the backbone network, the core network. You need, well, the 3GPP is a standardization committee, right? They have so-called DWDEF, data network analytic functions, right? They have to place this somewhere, have all the intelligence to do all the resource allocation. How do you do the network functioning, and so on and so forth. The field is moving very fast.
Is there a sense that 6G is the answer to bandwidth?
Well, that will, every generation always an answer for the need at that time. By the time we reach there, we have another set of requirements, right? When we did just NTSC, we never thought of the, you know, the high definite. When you get high definite, you have 4K and so on and so forth. From the landscape, from my own myoscopic view, every time when we reach there, then you have another set of problems. It's good. So we're in the field, so we have problems to solve continuously, otherwise we'll be out of job, right? That's why, you know, it's exciting, you know, to see what's coming, right? Especially for the young folks. I'm not sure I answered your questions. Yeah.
One more question.
Sure.
7G, does it exist?
After we finish the 6G, definitely there are 7G coming up. Yes.
What do you think about the rules that IoT device or each device will play in the networks?
Oh, you talk about end device? Yeah. End device is getting more powerful, right? Just look at, well, we have the iPhone 16, right? But the iPhone 16 is a lot more powerful than iPhone 15. So the end device is getting more powerful as times go by. And definitely, there are a lot of computing can be done locally. That's why there are a lot of research work being done. We also doing all this task offloading. How do you offload from the end device to the edge device? How do you, all this management, right? So definitely, as times go by, you have very, very powerful, as I said, this is so much powerful than my main server when I did my research, right? Not even my 30 years ago, right? This is so powerful. And then when you miniaturize this more and more, well, of course, there's a physics limit. I think right now for the chips, I think the limit is there already, right? So NTSC can do what, 2 nano or 3 nano, and it's reaching the physical limit. But God's created us with good ingenuity that they can package it to make it even break through this so-called the Moore's limit and so on. We'll see, okay? I don't know how many more years God allowed me to stay here for. I'll see how things are evolving. I saw a lot more than most of you here. Yes.
Yeah, so from the researcher's point of view, it's definitely very exciting, and there are many reasons for the metaverse project to succeed, right? But from the consumer's point of view, like myself, I have no interest to try that because it's not comfortable to put the device on my head, right? That's the only reason the metaverse will fail, right? I think that the technology is not there yet. The ideal technology to make this succeed is the lens or the device become a contact lens inside my eyeball, and it has a long-run battery. I don't think this is possible in the next 10 or 20 years, right? Before this thing happens, I don't want to try that thing, right? You put the device on your head, and then I would imagine anybody will use that less than 1 hour per day, right? And that's the killer.
Yeah, that is so true. That's called the form factor, right? The form factor. I think this is true for most folks. This the first generation when I gave a talk 10 years ago. Remember Google Glass, right? I was one of the first one able to grab his Google Glass in my talk when I gave also a long time ago some keynote about the future. That Google Glass is pretty powerful, right? But it didn't sell too well, right? But I think you talk about contact lens. I read some article. It's coming up, right? There are contact lenses coming in. So it's the form factor. There are all kind of factors involved. If I'm doing, gaming is definitely, you have a market. Gaming have a market. I don't mind wearing this to do more immersive gaming. Well, I don't know. I never play game. I think the kids probably don't mind that, right? So it's all the form factor essentially is a key factor. How do you make it more natural? And especially if I have a prescription, I cannot. How could I take care of my prescription? Also, the glasses. But I went to see my ophthalmologist. He has one eye. Somehow he correct the lens. One eye doesn't need the prescription. Only the other eye need the prescription. So it's just a form factor. I think for people who are like me, the old timers, forget it. I'm not going to wear these things at all. For the youngsters who came up at a different generation, when they're little kids, when a kid time, I don't have toys. By the way, I started school when I was 10 years old. Before 10 years old, I was a street kid. My toys were, marble was a toy. All natural stuff was my toy. But this day, the kids, when they grew up, they face different things. They have different gadgets. As time goes by, I'm sure we're getting closer and closer to be more acceptable, right? To be on the optimistic side. We'll see. We have to live long enough to see. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm not sure I answered your questions.
Thank you very much for your questions and thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Professor. I'm sorry for the wonderful lecture, and I'm sure that you'll be happy to answer questions.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, we will use the slides. Yes, this is the first one, yes. That's good. Yeah, Hong Kong is here now.
You just got here?
Yes, he's really here now. I think it's good, right? It's,
Really good. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Wonderful talk.
Were you here?
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Appreciate.
Where did you come from?
From
You were on train,
from,
right?
from Massachusetts. Yeah.
You still live there?
Yes. I teach this for you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Wow, it's a long.
Yeah.
It's actually this one. So,
The clicker goes from one.
yep. So it'll be, this is your presentation right here, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So just green is forward and red is backward on this one.
Green is forward, red is backwards,
Yep.
and is there a laser?
Yeah, that's the
is
middle
this
one
one?
there. Let's
This
just-
one over here?
Yeah, just give it a shot, make sure. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Let me just clean this up. And then...
Hello, everyone. So now we go to our last session. So let's welcome Joshua Waxman to present their work about speech recognition for the composite languages with low density components. Let's welcome.
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, so I'm Josh Waxman. I'm at Stern College, part of Yeshiva University. And a lot of this research was conducted with assistance from these students, Rachel Schechter, Gil Linzer, Chaya Trapito, Dina Fink, and Ariel Molnitsky. And the research is essentially how do you conduct speech recognition, that's speech to text, on not a single language like English or Chinese or something like that, but a language which is composite. It has multiple parts. And especially if those languages, the sub-language is low density, that means that it doesn't have a lot of linguistic resources available. So high density language would be something like English. Low density might be something like Babylonian Aramaic in our case, or we'll see. Okay, oops. So here is again the problem definition. We want to do speech to text on a hybrid language, which is a combination of a high density language. In most cases, when we're looking at the language, it's going to be English as the high density language, and something low density. And here are examples. Some of these are really just a mixture of high density and low density. So high density and high density, like Spanglish. Right? I'm going to the store to buy some groceries. Do you want to come along? Right? So that's a combination of English and Spanish, but Spanglish. Similarly, Chinglish or Hindish, right? Hindi spoken in India. This over here is Singlish, which is English but combined with dialects spoken in Singapore. So some of those might be more low density, and that would some of this research might have greater applications to those. Although in general, whenever you have a hybrid language, that's kind of what we'd be interested in. Similarly, Ebonics, or there's a sociolect called Yeshivish, which is spoken at Yeshiva University, but also other places. I'm going to talk a little bit about the linguistic features of Yeshivish. Okay, so there's a real-world impetus for this. Here's a website called yutorah.org, which at Yeshiva University, the Uptown campus, so they have currently 366,000 plus shiurim, those are lectures, delivered mostly in English, but a lot of this is really yeshivish. There's a lot of these low-density words, phrases, text being analyzed. And we'd like to search through them, and they do have a search feature. It's not so good, because when we search, so those 366,000 lectures are about 200,000 plus hours of audio. And search means looking through the metadata. That's the title, that's a short description, maybe the speaker. They don't have full text transcripts because the transcripts that we would have would be really, really bad, or at least they would be bad until fairly recently with the advent of Whisper. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Yeshivish and the linguistic features thereof. It's mostly English in terms of the vocabulary, and especially function words, to, of, etc. However, especially for religious terms, legal terms, conceptual terms, cultural terms, and so on, it'll be borrowed from other languages. Often from a variant of Hebrew, like in Israel right now, they speak modern Hebrew, which would be a high-density language. But we're talking about Rabbinic Hebrew or Mishnaic Hebrew, which was Hebrew spoken in specific locations, specific times. And so it's going to have a different vocabulary, grammar, also pronunciation, we'll see. A specific type of Aramaic, Babylonian Aramaic, especially drawn from the Talmud. And there's another hybrid language itself called Yiddish, Germanic Jewish language, but often speakers of Yeshivish will lapse into certain portions which are Yiddish. And so it's a big jumble, and will speech-to-text work on that? And if not, what can we do to compensate? So all of those external languages are low density, because even though modern Hebrew is high density, Rabbinic Hebrew is low density. And even for those terms that exist in modern Hebrew, the pronunciation that's used at Yeshiva University and other places in Yeshivish is not the same as Israeli pronunciation. The vowels are different, some of the consonants are different. And so just as an example, somebody might talk about Tosafot, which is a Talmudic commentary, and so you would say Tosafot, as opposed to, depending on the lecturer and their accent, they might say Tosfos, or they might say Tasvis, or Tasis, sort of swallowing that F. And so it'll be misheard by the speech to text, and we might need to recover from that. There's other interesting linguistic features which might help us actually compensate if we were writing rule-based or even machine learning, deep learning-based approaches to know when you're switching from the high-density language to the low-density language, and that's called code switching. So it could be part of speech, for example, that we're dealing with a noun, and so nouns are more likely to be, or if it's a verb, you wouldn't just say the verb, but you'd say the verb in present tense. So to be machria, for example, means to find a compromised position between two other positions in the legal sense. So you wouldn't say, you would say really to be machria. So the word to be sort of indicates that we're maybe transitioning. So there are these linguistic features that we could exploit possibly, although that's not what today's lecture is about. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Whisper, because previous speech recognition applications really did a poor job when they encountered the out-of-vocabulary non-English words. They got thoroughly confused, produced utter gibberish, and also gibberish of the words surrounding it. I'm not going to show you an example, but ask me later. I could pull up some examples. After, I don't have slides for it, but really bad. Whisper is much, much better, and actually gives us the chance to recover. Whisper's architecture is an encoder-decoder deep learning model. So what happens is that you have the original audio, and it goes into the encoder block, and what comes out are contextualized representations. And then there's a decoder block that will present tokens. And some of those tokens are full words, some of them are partial words, just like a single, like a half a word or a syllable or something like that. And also, interestingly, it gives confidence levels, like a probability, so that we could also potentially exploit. As opposed to, right, this is the encoder-decoder model. If you would look at something like ChatGPT, so that's a continuation model. It's a decoder-only model. It's not necessarily so easy to take the internals of one and mix it with the internals of the other, although that might be something interesting to explore. Whisper was trained on about 680,000 hours of multitask, multilingual data, audio. in 99 languages. You won't find whisper models for all of those 99. You'll find them probably for a dozen or two. It's only the ones where the word error rate was less than that threshold of 50% that they went public with the model, but it still was trained on all of this other data. And that's kind of useful for us, because since it was exposed to all of that data, it will know the words, or it'll know the syllables, or it'll know the tokens that exist in those other languages. So it doesn't generate utter gibberish. It'll give us, it still won't be the right answer, but it might be something that a human being would be able to understand. Okay, so here's an example of an audio lecture, shiur, from which we passed through Whisper using their large version 3 model. And maybe this makes sense to you, maybe not, but most of this text, as you can see, is English. The things that are in green are out of vocabulary non-English words. If it's green and bold, that means that there's an error. And most of the errors, you can see, are concentrated in these non-English words. Sometimes you'll find other ones, but still a human can puzzle out the context. Many of the phonemes are there. So I'll walk you through 2 or 3 examples of this just on this page. We have, let's look again at the Mishnah on Lamed Hey Amid Aleph. What that means, Lamed Hey, these are Hebrew letters. It basically means on page 35, folio 1. In other words, the first folio. But of course, Lamed Hey, it somehow knew it was in the vocabulary, because an English person might talk about a Hebrew letter, perhaps. But Amud, it wouldn't necessarily get. So there's a boundary error over here. It didn't get that it's Amud. It's some phonological errors. This should be a U. This should be an A, perhaps. In boundary errors, it doesn't know that it's Amid Aleph or Amud Aleph. But a human being who's used to reading or listening to such text, they would be able to understand it. Here's another example. A din is a religious law. So the Gemara, right, the Talmud says the din, if he said, or something like that. So there's a combination of Hebrew and English words that are right at the point of a code switch. Sometimes it performs poorly there, and so that might be something we would want to compensate for. Okay, so there are many whisper errors. It depends on how long you give me to talk, but maybe I'll speak through a few of these. But depending on the type of whisper errors for these out-of-vocabulary words, different strategies would apply. So, especially if you know something about the linguistics, you could try to target each of these, one of these errors, and say, okay, I'm going to look for the homonyms. An example: the word mace in Hebrew, and that would be in Israeli Hebrew would be mate. But mace, right? The T and the S are pronounced. But so see the word mace, and it would transcribe it as the word mace, which is a fine English word, a weapon. One really big error is that if there's too much non-English consecutively, it treats it as gibberish and says, "Oh, there's a problem with the audio. I'm not going to generate anything." That occurs not always. Sometimes, about half the time, it actually does generate the text, but the other half of the time it doesn't, and that would contribute to a pretty high word error rate. And so we're not even focused here on word error rates. We're focused on what flows through and what's the percentage error and how we can correct that, and maybe in later stages we would iterate and improve it. Sometimes it would be a contextually relevant, sound-similar word. So why it would be asur, or they would say asur, forbidden. So it doesn't make sense. Asur is not a word in English, but why it would be awesome. Right? You'd expect that it would. This would be the expected word in that context. Sometimes It could actually find the word, and it would even be pronounced the same way, but it isn't the standard way that the person would transliterate it. So grama, right? So they would actually write grama, but a yeshivish speaker would write and read the word with A's because those correspond to the specific vowels in Hebrew, kamatz. Often misinterpreting English words at a code-switching boundary. So, for example, he quotes the Ramah, quotes Rabbi Moshe Isserlis. So quotes the becomes this other Hebrew word, chotzde. Right? So it takes the Hebrew and it takes the English and turns it into Hebrew, and it really is off. So we want to recover from that. So not just Hebrew that turns into English, but English that turns into Hebrew, particularly in those contexts. Often, like within these. Within this decoder, so it does have a memory of the most recent words, so it might reuse a word even though it's very distant from the actual word that's pronounced. So we got to watch out for that. And even staying within Hebrew, it gets almost all of the syllables right, but it has word boundary errors. So there are many approaches that we could take to reduce those errors. And one good thing that we might do is we could just take this whisper model on, not on Hebrew, right? On Hebrew, most of the text is English, and so we're running whisper on English, not on Hebrew. But we could take that whisper model and fine-tune it. And that's not what I'm presenting today, but we generate enough good audio training from these other processes. The hope is that we could iterate and actually give a good whisper model. So that would be one approach. But really, it's a correction task for most of these. And so you could correct using an example of a correct text. So what do I mean by a correct text? A lot of these audio lectures are discussing an actual text. In other words, they have a book, they take it out, they read the words, and then they'll translate it, they'll analyze it, they'll comment on it. And so, sometimes these words are not all in a single body of text that you could get online. You could have the main body of text and various commentaries that are pulled from various places. But for some main body of text, you could use word alignment, and that's what I'm going to present as one of the approaches. So a Needleman-Wunsch alignment, where we match things up using a modified minimum meta distance that'll be able to match up words if there's enough overlapping phonemes or something like that. Also, if you know common yeshivish words that are out of vocabulary, you could try to find those, especially the ones that have low confidence, and try to replace those. You can build up a lexicon as you're processing. So once you know that the word is there, maybe you could use that same lexicon and replace it in other places within the transcribed lecture. One interesting thing, again, not officially discussing today, but a blend of giving the correct text and pass it to ChatGPT. But a good approach, aside from this first approach over here, is word alignment, Needleman-Wunsch. The second big idea is how good is ChatGPT? Let's say version 4. Right, ChatGPT 4, using a prompt, and I'll show you the prompt in a minute, but this could work because while Whisper has its specific knowledge of what word follows the other, not exactly a large language model, but it has some version of that it's using in the decoding process. ChatGPT has a much larger large language model. And so maybe we could exploit that in order to perform a correction task. So here's the first approach, fixing from known texts. So again, many lectures are centered around the known text. The lecturer reads the Hebrew or Aramaic text, translates it, discusses it in this yeshivish. So if you only you focus on a small subsection of that lecture where they're actually quoting the text, you can fix it. Because, what we do is we take those Hebrew texts. Sometimes they're vocalized, but sometimes they're not, so we can add those vocalizations. There are deep learning approaches to actually add those vowels and so on, even though it's really just a consonantal text. Or else you take some text that already is vocalized, we transliterate it into some nice yeshivish pronunciation transliteration, and then we use the Needleman-Wunsch alignments based on a specialized cost function within the Levenstein at a distance for individual words, and we could find where in the text or in the audio somebody is quoting that text and replace it in place. And so that we got pretty good accuracy, something like 96%. There are some boundary error issues, there are some pronunciation issues, especially with accents, but the big problem is that it doesn't really target most of the yeshivish text in the audio. So this is one strategy that has to be part of an overall strategy, right? There has to be multiple approaches within that. So here's an example. So here is the full text, again with the green being the non-English. Here is the Hebrew that's vocalized. Here is a transliterated version of that vocalized text. And then what we can do is perform some kind of alignment, what the best match is. For some of these, I just showed that the lecturer will actually repeat the text as they discuss it over and over. So some of these words are like Ruach HaKodesh, etc. So over here it also says Ruach HaKodesh. So which span are you going to attach it to? So those words would be missed, and so there has to be some kind of adaptation of the strategy. But in general, it's going to find these words, and since we know what the words are, those then get very high accuracy. Okay. Then here's an example of a GPT prompt. It's not only ChatGPT, it was Llama and others, but what seemed to really work programmatically was using a pretty good ChatGPT model. And here are the elements of the prompt. We had to iterate until we got it actually working. First of all, the prompt to ask to fix it will describe maybe the content. Say that this is about religious law or something like that. This is about the Bible. You could give some kind of explanation of the content. You also include what yeshivish is. You say that, look, there are words in here that are in this hybrid language, this mixture, so expect to find these words. Saying that means that it's going to tap into other yeshivish words that it knows. Explain, so that's what we say over here, a mixture of English, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Yiddish. We say that the non-English text is corrupted, but the phonemes are there, right? So it was run through Whisper AI. Some of the non-English words confused it, but they're going to typically share the same or similar phonemes to the original. We didn't do multi-shot here, right? We didn't do zero shot, we did one shot. So we provide one example, and probably multiple examples of the different types of errors would maybe improve the accuracy even more. So here, we're somewhere in Zion, I'm at Aleph, we're somewhere in Zion, that's 7, page 7, Amud Aleph, folio 1. Right, so we give the corrected text. I also ask that we actually don't write it in English, but write it in Hebrew letters. And only after generating the Hebrew letters to transliterate that. And the idea behind it is somewhat like chain of thought. Why does chain of thought work? Because the large language model doesn't actually know anything. Right? It only knows the context. So you first generate the context that it could quote-unquote reason from, and then it'll generate text on the basis of that context that it previously generated. So by generating the Hebrew, we're actually tapping into the language model of Hebrew. And then words like Zayin Amid Aleph actually is going to be somewhere in the training data because they trained it on the whole web. Right? It's not going to have Zayin Amid Aleph, probably not much of that in the English text, but it would have the Hebrew, and so it will more likely, it's going to first generate the Hebrew, and then from there it's going to go to the English. We also have to say not to explain it, because otherwise it generates a summary or a bullet-pointed list. We ask for the full transcript, again, to avoid summaries, and that's the general approach that we're at this point, although we can imagine other ways of tweaking it. So again, remember this noisy whisper output. So here again, remember Lamed Hey Amid Aleph. Here's the word tesis, which should have been Tosafot, and etc. Right, again, tesis. Right, sometimes it actually writes Theseus, which is a character from World of Warcraft. That it knows, but it doesn't know tesis. So this was the original whisper output, and here is an example of output generated by ChatGPT. So I could go back if you want, but here's the Mishnah, and then it's supposed to say Lamed Hey Amud Aleph, and it actually generates that as Lamed Hey Amud Aleph in Hebrew, and then generates that that appropriately. Sometimes, like Hai Duvsha, this honey. So it didn't correct it entirely, but it got some parts of it. Some of the errors, like tesis, it wasn't able to correct, but again, we might need more hand-holding or different strategies that we would apply for different types of errors. So here it shows you this is again all the same corrected text. Everything that I outlined in red are corrections that it used to be an error, right? Some of this text was always fine, but here's all of the text that actually is now good. So a massive amount, a massive percentage of the errors actually can be fixed by that approach. So here's an example of some of the results. Again, I'm not talking about word error rate here, right? I've heard like word error rate in the wild could be just for English sometimes 15%. But this is, it already has come in here of what is generated, what is the percent error, right? What percentage of the words actually are, would we of the individual word tokens would I consider erroneous? So the whisper output is 16.2%. But if you just look at the yeshivish text, more than half, 60%, is broken. But after you pass it through ChatGPT, again, 15% goes down to 3%, which then just focused on the yeshivish text. It went down from 60% to 11.8%. So that's a pretty good fix. It's still not perfect, and we have to combine it with other approaches, and there has to be future work. A lot of this, right, here are some of the problems. Remember that this is the percent errors in surviving text. All the gibberish is stripped out, or if it's too much. So we need to get more of that audio actually flowing down into something that we can correct. Now, this is based on, overall it was 25% of the text was non-English words. But again, that varies by topic. It could be that somebody will have a lecture in which they'll speak for a half an hour and use, 3% of it is going to be these words. It depends on the audience. It depends on the topic. Also, different lecturers have different levels of accents, depending on which Jewish community they came from. So that's going to be either closer or farther from the standard transliteration that you'd expect. And so that also will warp the percentage errors. This was just looking at two speakers, and they were averaged together. This often, right, and I'm not talking about the alignment approach. I said 96% before, but again, that requires manual interaction because we need to really fetch the text by hand and copy it and paste it into the input, and it's different per lecture. You need to have knowledge of it, and again, it's only going to fix that small portion, again, depending on the lecture style. Right? Some of them, actually, it could be 60% of the lecture is going to be that text, but usually it's going to be far less. And really, what's useful, it's useful to give these texts to students in these lectures. They could actually read it, understand it, mentally correct all of this, especially after we do most of the work, they'll mentally correct the rest of it. But also, we're generating this lexicon of yeshivish words. And we're generating an audio training corpus, so we can take each of these sentences that are now yeshivish and fine-tune Whisper, or maybe fine-tune even other large language models like Llama instead of GPT to say, here's what I expect from the correction text. So that's going to be in the future, but we are already generating these files. I would consider that part of results. Okay, so here are some future directions where I see this going. So number one, yes, we should definitely iterate to fine-tune Whisper based on the audio training files that we have, just to let more of the text through, because not only that, not only to let more of the text through, but it's much better not to make the error in the first place than to make the error and maybe the later correction task will fix it. So we really want to get a yeshivish version of Whisper. We want, it's possible to actually take the alignment approach together with the GPT approach that could, even just saying, here is the text, here is the lecture, try to put it together. We're building up a large yeshivish lexicon, which we could have it use that to do corrections. We can just look at correcting the sources. And then use existing APIs to programmatically fetch those texts. And then once we have an individual text, within that immediately following context, the person will be using those words. And so it's more programmatic, but we could do that. And of course, here we're testing it with Yeshivish because it was very useful for us, but it would be good to expand to other hybrid languages that have a low-density component. So that's all, folks.
So any questions from our audience? Yes, go ahead.
And make it like a more supervised learning class. Does that make sense? Right, definitely. Right, there are multiple approaches that can be used, but so what you're suggesting is we could already do this this language detection task almost. Right. In other words, we can know. First of all, you could just look at the Oxford English Dictionary, and you could get a list of all of the English words, so you know which ones are out of vocabulary and which are in vocabulary. That's also the JSON output of this will give pretty low probability to the non-English words most often. So we could definitely form such a mask and then just focus on the English words. And although so there's two problems, though, right? In other words, it's a good approach and definitely one that should be pursued, right? By me, by you, by somebody. But here are two possible issues with it. Whisper does not have word-level timing. It only has sentence level. And there are, within some APIs, it'll give you some word level. And that's also what we're trying to generate the lexicon for this. But it all is probabilistic, and we often will totally miss the words. So what we do when building the word level lexicon are taking a token or two beforehand, a token or two after, and we would have to have a human being listen to it and correct it. So, right, and a lot of these words, it's not like somebody is saying a whole bunch of Hebrew or Aramaic and then a whole bunch of English. It really is switching from one to the other. But that's where code switching, for example, right, detecting the boundaries, that might be helpful, and then some kind of programmatic process to maybe isolate that audio and run it through. That's the first potential problem, but it's something that definitely could and should be pursued, I think. The second problem is that then what do we do with the words that are Hebrew, Aramaic, etc.? So you might think, okay, let's run it through the Hebrew model. The problem with that is that the Hebrew model is trained on Israeli Hebrew, on modern Hebrew, which is often a completely different vocabulary and totally pronounced differently. They would say Tosafot, and really the lecturer is saying Tesvis, right? And so it doesn't sound at all the same. The error level of that would itself be problematic. So, but yeah, it's a good idea. But could you talk a little bit louder?
In the GPD prompting approach they took,
Mm-hmm.
does that work because GPD as a model is good at like machine translation?
Yes, in part. I mean, it's
Where you tell it to generate like first you tell it to generate something in Hebrew, the text you want, correct it, and then it embraces you
and,
want to be in English.
and I want to have, and it's not a translation; it's a transliteration. Right, but it's based on, first of all, the original text. In other words, we say, please correct this whole lecture, and then we don't actually paste the full lecture because there's limits on the amount of output tokens. But we take a small portion of that lecture, like we do like about 500 words or so, but then extend whatever sentence it is, and we pass that in. But it could do a translation in some cases, but it's not really translating, right? In other words, Tesis is not at all the same as Tosafot, right? So it's somehow, I don't know what exactly is, we know it's not actually doing anything, right? It's not actually doing a translation task. It's like, what's the likely word in Hebrew that should be generated given all of the words that were preceding it, and also that are sort of sound similar to it, and then it generates that in Hebrew, and then, yeah, it's not doing a translation task then, but it's doing a transliteration task, although sometimes it doesn't even. Like the Hebrew is going to be totally fine, but it'll still preserve the original really bad transliteration, because that also is in context. So, the answer is really beats me. It's ChatGPT is very often surprisingly good at tasks that it wasn't explicitly trained on, but there have to be some elements of it that are helping it along. And it's a trial and error. We tried other types of things that didn't pan out, but this worked.
Any more questions? Okay, so then let's thank our speaker again here.
Okay, thank you.
So next, let's move to our last speaker. Let's welcome Vera Hedger-Rowe to present our work about ClassVision AI-powered classroom attendance system. Actually, this is the paper from my group, so please feel free to ask any questions to challenge him. Okay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So my project is from ClassVision AI-powered classroom attendance system. So basically, we have selected this project because we know that face recognition has been technology has been used within the decades. If you consider previously, past 1960s, we have using face recognition technology. But the thing is, if you see the recent years, from 2000 to somewhere in between 2000 to 2020, so we find more advancement or more use of the face recognition technologies used in various sectors like banking, medical, hospitality. And these advancement in face recognition technology is basically because of so basically this face recognition technology is because of the thing is we have developed more of deep learning technologies, the advancement in deep learning algorithms, and mostly, as Professor Ansari told, like with the advancement of hardware systems, computational capabilities. So we mostly, involved in this because most of the educational institutions doesn't use like these kind of approach of using the latest technologies in their day-to-day life by taking attendance kind of things. So we selected this project for the mainly to reduce to reduce the time spent on taking the attendance by the lectures and improving those kind of stuff. So the presentation like mainly includes like the introduction, agenda is like project goals, technical stacks, what is the architecture we have used, how the data preparation has been done, what is the class vision models we have built, implementation methodologies, and this kind of stuff. As I mentioned, like the main goal, we try to address the current we try to address the current the problems which we faced in the classrooms, like mostly like the changing from the traditional way of using the pen and paper kind of thing to use of the technology kind of thing in the latest educational institutions. So the main objective is like to build a model where we can automatically take the attendance when we enter into the class using the face recognition technologies. And this helps to reduce the we try to build a user-friendly system where we want to reduce the lecture time and use that specific time to do something useful in to make the lecture more kind of subject-related more than doing this manual kind of work. So the main constraints which we have faced during the start of this project is mostly related to the data privacy and data security. I remember that after we started this project 1 week before, so Professor Zhang has told to stop because of the privacy concerns where we haven't got permission from the university to have the faces of the students. So that was the one problem we have faced at the starting. So one thing I want to thank Professor Zhang and Professor Wong for giving us support by taking, to approach the students by giving the NDC forms, non-declaration agreement forms, by taking those kind of stuff. So that's one thing which addresses the GDPR regulations where we take into account of the data privacy, data security kind of things. So the technical constraints, like we have mentioned, like data collection, the hardware, like where we need to use high resolution cameras, and the variations in the students, like the hair, the facial features in the classroom sections. So the main technical technical tools which we have used, like VS Code for using the programming kind of stuffs. The tools for development stuff. Next, like the libraries like OpenCV, Retina Face, face recognition, for web development, HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and for the version control, like GitHub kind of stuff. So our class vision framework is a simple thing. Like first, we collected the training images of all the students. Then we have done the data pre-processing where we have collected the region of interest. We have cleaned up the data, we have collected the facial region of interest, and we have resized the images. Then we have done the face detection. Then we started the generating embeddings. Then after we generate the embeddings, we have compared with the face recognition, final face recognition of the students. So if you see like data preparation stage, we are like 36 students who have volunteered for this project. So in total, we have collected like 3,600 images of all the 36 students. And we have collected using an OpenCV Hearts Cascade programming where we have directly took the input from the, I mean, we have taken the images directly from our laptop, which we use like regularly, kind of thing. So when coming to the testing phase, it has done over the 6 weeks times, where each week we have collected like a group images of different students in different angles. So so these are like some of the if you see, like, these are the images, training images, like 112 into 112 dimensions, and these are the testing images and the group images. So these are some of the sample images which I have collected during our 8 weeks period of time, like different variations. You see, like some different, some of them are standing, some of them are doing like different poses, kind of thing. So in model building, like basically we have used like a 5-stage process in model building, where we first, as mentioned, we have first collected all the training images of the students. Then we have extracted the data pre-processing, like region of interest of the face, where we want to extract the facial features of the student. Then we have done the face detection on the test images. Then we started generating the embeddings, and final stage is like the recognition on the test images. So the region of interest is like, first we have developed an automatic programming where we trained the images and we started extracting the region of interest of the training, training data set. We extracted the region of interest of the facial features. So that facial features, we have created a folder, like a processing folder, where which is used to generate the embeddings in the coming stages. For the detection phase, we have used the retina phase. Since retina phase is like a single shot, like it performs like in a single pass, it performs multiple tasks. And second is like, it uses like an anchor-based approach while drawing like various bounding boxes of the face recognition, the detection of the images. Then the feature pyramid, like where it merges with the low resolution and the high resolution images into one thing, and it extracts the features of the images. So this is one of the things where we have, we tried with different different libraries like retina phase, face recognition kind of thing, but in most of them, like retina phase was doing good in the face recognition, face detection process. So the third stage, then we started generating the embeddings of the training and the testing images. So we have generated the pickle file of the embeddings of the training images and the testing images. So this was later used in the face recognition to compare the detection which has generated from the retina face and the face recognition libraries. The face recognition of the training set and the face recognition of the testing set, where we have generated the embeddings and we have compared for the final recognition of the images. So if you see, like, so first we have generated the embeddings of the training, the individual training images, then we have started comparing on the test images and using the distance matching. So it started, we get the final results, like whether the face is there in the group images or not. So this was the project structure as mentioned, like we have into 4 stages, like training, testing, processing, and the prediction. So these are the sample, like accuracy which we have used, like number of detected faces by total face for the detection accuracy and recognition accuracy. So using retina face, we have achieved like a 99.4% detection accuracy, and using face recognition library, we have used like 90.3% accuracy. So these are the various models with various image size. We have performed like various models with various image size, and these are the combined result summary. So our model, like retina face and face recognition is like 15 to 50, where we have cropped the images, and we have achieved a detection accuracy of 99.4% and recognition accuracy of 90.3%. Whereas the other images, with other models, we required like an high dimensional, high quality resolution images, which we are unable to generate with the current limited of time, which we have, when we have done this project. So this is the user interface which we have developed. So the first thing is like we need to add the course, and we need to choose the CSV file. We need to upload the class list. Once we upload the class list, it will choose, we'll go into the attendance system where we need to upload the class images. So once we upload the attendance, so we can use the attendance system to take attendance. So this will be the final attendance system. So we can even change, like if there is any missing kind of stuff, we can manually add like present or absent based on the kind of model. Sometimes the detection recognition is not that much, so we have given an a thing provision for the professor to take a manual kind of thing. And this is the video.
So, are you guys able to play the video there? There is a video on this screen. There is no audio here. Can you also play the audio? No, it's from there. From there. Yeah. There is still no audio here. So if not, can you just play the video? Okay, it's just let's see what are the procedures of the video. If you guys cannot connect with the audio, let's just play the video, okay? Instead, thank you.
So we are first adding the course. Then we are choosing the class list for that course. So once we click the upload, after we select that course, we can take the particular date attendance, like 28th April. Then we need to upload the classroom images. So once we upload the classroom, the classroom image is successfully uploaded. Then if you click the take attendance system, take attendance icon. So it will take some time in the background to generate the attendance of the. So here is the generated attendance of the class. Suppose it's like Lalita is present, but it has not been recognized correctly, so we can manually edit it. Then we can download the attendance of the CSV file to check the attendance. So in conclusion, we have tried various models it's like a initial stage of trying in the classroom kind of stuff with the real-time people, like real-time students kind of thing. So in future, it can be used in integrating with the the learning tools, where we can integrate these face recognition technologies with the learning management systems. And the other thing is, we can use the different models which are coming latest with the high resolution cameras. So we can improve the accuracy. So these are the future kind of stuffs where improvements can be done with different classrooms. Like even we can take in the auditorium kind of stuffs if you want to take any kind of face recognition attendance who are present or kind of thing. So these are the future things which we can plan, or anyone who is interested in doing the stuff kind of things, they can go ahead with this kind of things. So here is our GitHub profile and project guide. Thank you for giving me opportunity to present here.
So any questions from our audience here? Yes, go ahead.
Will you be able to take the attendance from the first day?
From the first?
From the first class, you will be able to take the attendance?
Yeah.
Because you don't have the training images like on the 8 weeks, right?
No, basically it's like the entire class images will be uploaded into the system, and it will take the it will take the attendance in the starting of the class.
Yeah, but from first class you don't have the data set.
No, from first because it's like starting kind of stuff which we have initiated. Like we don't know because we need to take the consent of the students in each class, and we need to take like a different kind of stuff. So
the answer is yes. We have to get those
yeah.
interface first. Otherwise, you cannot get a classification results, right? So you have to get the face of students first. Yes.
So how is it better than the biometric system?
Biometric system is something where we need to every kind of stuff is using the biometric kind of stuff. Sometimes the biometric system doesn't work if the fingerprint is not correctly recognized kind of thing. So again, we need to change the biometric kind of stuff if the system is not working. So in face recognition, it doesn't doesn't physically take any kind of biometric, but it can automatically recognize your face, and it generates the attendance kind of system. So biometric is used previously, and it has been used sometimes, but currently it has been changed to the face recognition kind of stuff.
So if classroom strength is small, because we expect the attendance system to be 100% accurate. If the
Yeah.
strength is huge,
Yeah.
the professor cannot go and check which strength is better taking attendance manually, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of difficulty even we have faced. as you mentioned, like to get the 100% accuracy, we required like a high resolution images for the embeddings kind of thing to recognize each and every face of the, each and every face of the student. So that requires, to my knowledge, what I'm mentioning is like, since we have been developing this in the initial phase, so maybe in the later stage when we have like a high kind of components or high resolution kind of cameras, and if the resolution, since we have taken in the laptop kind of system only for the certain distance from the classroom, we are able to recognize. So if you want to take the 100% accuracy, the main thing is like the images of the faces should be like in a good resolution kind of stuff. Yeah, some. Yeah, but. Yeah, that's true. Like investing in biometric system, because I observed in few industries, like sometimes the biometric doesn't work because of number of students coming and fingerprinting the same kind of screen. So sometimes it doesn't recognize you the exact whether he is present or fine, and that may limit the time of entering into the students, and sometimes they may skip even giving the attendance kind of stuff. Yeah, that's pretty good as of now with the current.
I wonder, like, so you don't have high resolution images right now, but
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of data that you could probably exploit. For example, you have bounding boxes.
Yeah.
So you just count the number of bounding boxes, and that will tell you how many students are there. Even if it doesn't totally identify all those students. What's the percentage of the number of bounding boxes? Right? And then, so that's one thing that you might try to explore. Also, as you're looking at individual students, so you found the students,
Mm-hmm.
you have a high accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Just knock them out of the, and then the question is, of the remaining bounding boxes, even if it's very low accuracy, thinks that maybe it's somebody else among the candidates, like you've already excluded all of those students, what's the accuracy there?
Mm-hmm.
Like what if you would iterate? Or what if you would, like, say, okay, 50, I'm not totally sure, so is it a 50% chance that it actually is a student and we have a bounding box? I would imagine that might make it.
So you are mentioning like those who have recognized the faces should be removed, and those who have unrecognized faces should be calm, and they need to take the faces. Yeah, that's the option. But the thing, when we have done this project, we observed like since we have taken the image input from the normal webcam kind of thing, computer webcam kind of thing, so pretty much the resolution was like 112 into 112 dimensions. So while recognizing the face recognition software, face recognition model, so it was unable to, unable to recognize that much accuracy kind of thing, but some advanced models like inside face kind of thing. So there we have trained with 1200 into 16 by taking images from the iPhone kind of, individual images from the iPhone kind of thing. But there we have achieved an accuracy of somewhere like more than like 90% kind of thing. So that may possible, but it takes like removing one thing and adding something, again, it's like a time processing kind of thing. So basically, if we use the main thing in face recognition is like, if the image clarity of the facial features is good, so it automatically recognizes the faces of the particular students, and it will merely generate the recognition kind of thing. So the initial stage, which we observed while doing this project, was the quality of the images because of the input which we have taken from the laptop kind of thing. So I think it may be good, but it's like sort of like time processing, removing certain things and again making them to come. Yeah, that's up.
More questions? Okay.
Yeah.
So, does your model handle occlusions that happen usually? Like I believe most of the cases it depends on the camera angle that you're taking the picture, right?
Yeah.
Let's say a person is behind a person.
Mm-hmm.
And, like in example, the number of students are huge.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
So.
Supposed to solve these problems?
Yeah, that's one problem which we have encountered, but as I mentioned, we have resized the images when we took, like, suppose if you are training, when you are taking the images training set and someone is standing behind you, and it may detect that face, and the training will be like two persons standing back to back. So for that, we have resized the images, particular image to the particular facial person where we want to extract only that person instead of removing the we remove the background kind of thing. So that's one thing we have done with thing, but to look into like the different kind of occlusions, like sometimes we cover with a beard kind of thing, some faces. So for that, the model has not been that much accurately detected in few images, but in few images it's try to detect with the retina face kind of thing. So that's.
Have you tested on face recognition? Suppose if I am taking a one person, like in a mobile and showing to the camera, so they will detect their face, or it will only detect only the real face?
It will detect, as of now we have not tested with the face kind of, fake kind of images. So pretty, yeah, picture of that thing from the mobile. So,
Means any kind of pictures like that and any kind of thing on
you are telling like in a video kind of thing sometimes, if you, we show the video kind of thing and the video will be in front of the camera. We have done that one, but this is like totally on the group images, where very few people have done with the group images, because if you see like most of the research papers, they have done with the video kind of thing. If you face the in front of the video, if you stand, they will recognize your face, and sometimes if you show the other person on the camera, so it will detect like a face kind of thing. But what we have done is totally on the group images, where we directly recognize the face on the group images kind of thing.
So for taking attendance, we are passing a single image or like we are passing multiple images?
As of now, we have developed only for single images. We can do like in future, we can improve the user interface by inputting like multiple images kind of thing. But as of now, we are done only with the single image. Uploading only the single group images.
Multiple images give different results, right?
Yeah. Multiple images.
Some images it has not detected the face, the guy is sitting in the front row is wearing a
Yeah, the hat.
It did not detect the face. So my idea is like you need to count the number of faces versus the total attendance. If it matches, then
I-
it doesn't match, then you have to show for alternate image, something like that.
The thing is like, if you totally bend your head without showing, it's like even the system will not detect any kind of face kind of thing, because it's totally.
In that case, if you have a mechanism that some faces were not detected, so it has to go for another image. Because faces were not clearly visible in that particular image.
Okay,
We have to go for another image because using multiple images right on the class.
You are mentioning like taking the another image of the same person.
Not same person, the whole class again. Because that
Okay, yeah.
at a particular instant of time.
Uh,
After 1 minute, he may open it.
Yes. I got it. Thing is like we have taken with different, like you mentioned, we have done with 69 test images by taking different variations of the images. These are the sample test images we have took in the class, or the same class with different. Since our camera range is not too far to take in a single shot, so we have divided into half kind of thing, and we have done the test. The testing of the images, like you mentioned. Like 1 minute, if he bends his cap, in the next minute he may raise his face, kind of thing.
Now the yellow one performs very well with object detection. Did you not try that?
We have tried, but it doesn't give that much result in our real time kind of thing. But we have done even that YOLO model kind of thing. As mentioned, like if you see like YOLO and face recognition with we got only very less accuracy, like 57 into 58. As mentioned like previously, the main training data set in our training data set resolution was too low for to capture like even some high-end models, like inside face doesn't give that much accuracy kind of thing. But when you take with to me experiment we have done with the inside face 1200 into 1600, where I took the individual images from my iPhone and started training them. So that's the pretty thing which we have observed while doing this project.
So is it a pre-trained model or is it a
Retina face is we have used the pre-trained model. Retina face and face recognition.
Okay. Thanks, our speaker again. Yes. So let me add a few more words about this app. So actually, this is just our first step towards the course attendance. Later, as you guys may identify that it can only achieve about 90%. But in the real world, we really want to achieve about 100%, right? So then this is just give us aspiration that we need to develop something else can help us get 100%. That is something that we already did now. So we already developed an app for iOS and Android. So later, maybe next semester, we will test it so you guys may be able to use it in the future. So let's see what about that app, okay? So thanks to guys again. So I guess this is everything for today. And that's all for our DDP conference. And I particularly thanks for everybody's participation. And now I guess we have very big group photo now. Where's our Denton photographer? Let me call him. You guys can come here. Let's have a group photo. So then we are done for this. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Let me try to find that. Just what? Move you to the center.
It's okay, it's all right.
And let's move our
No,
keynote
it's
speaker
all right,
in the
it's all
center.
right.
Yes.
But she needs to come up front. Yeah, we know. We know. There you go. Come on up front. There you go. All right, great. Everybody right here. Can I get you to come to this side? Yep. Right there. Perfect. Great. All right, everybody. Right here, big smiles on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
One more?
I got
15. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
When he says 1, 2, 3, he's already taken like 12.